Hi, welcome to the director's cut and behind the scenes of my music video for my song Unicorn featuring Noel.
We gon' get it even if you never knew. The future holds everything for me and you. 춤을 춰, light it up. I need love. Unicorn, 하늘 봐.
Also, I don't really know what a director's cut is, so I hope this is what a director's cut is. Thank you. So I'm going to be talking about the 3 storylines I try to create and the behind the scenes. But before we do, I have to talk about the premise of the video. And the premise is based on this thesis statement, which is, it should be normal to feel together, but many feel alone, making togetherness their unique state. So the storylines all were created based on this one thesis. And the second and last thing before we take a deep dive is talking about juxtaposition. So I use juxtaposition to try and add depth to the story and to the visuals to keep it more compelling. And so the story has sort of a darker, more cinematic mood compared to the song. So they juxtapose each other, hopefully making the visuals a little bit more compelling and aesthetically pleasing to watch. The first storyline is the boy and the unicorn. So the basic premise of this is the unicorn is not actually there. It's only there for the boy. And so he records it because he's envious and he's a bit jealous that he wants to be in the position of that unicorn. In the second storyline, this is the performance of me and Noel. There isn't much story going on here, but it does help support the story by trying to drive it throughout the performance. So going with the higher energy parts of the song and keeping it more mellow during the verses and whatnot. And the final storyline that I've tried to include is the boy in the room, and this is more of a room away from reality kind of thing. And the boy is pretty much seen always looking outside the window or looking at the TV, very depressed, a little bit seemingly like isolated. So I was trying to show the boy's more emotional side on that aspect. So overall, these storylines are incomplete on their own, but the goal was to intercut them and put them together in a way that it makes sense and to hopefully have a relationship with one another to tell that complete story by the end of it. And that pretty much wraps up all the storylines that I tried to include. And so now we'll be talking about the behind the scenes. So on day 1, this was basically a day of just moving stuff out of the room and trying to set up lights and make things look good. Everything on day 1 was about filming that intro and filming some B-roll sequences. So we tried many different cinematic lighting setups, but the one we ended up going with was inspired through a YouTuber named Brady Bassett, and he is a cinematographer, and he inspired me a lot throughout this process. Notably, the moonlight that was coming through the window, giving the room a lot more texture. That was inspired through him, and I saw that, and I really wanted to replicate that. And so I put my Godox light outside and shined it through the light. And then I also added a light stand with some leaves on it and taped it. And Noel and I went through that process and we got some cool shadows coming through. And that really added a lot of depth. I also put a tube light behind a diffuser, which kind of simulated a TV. And that also sold the effect that he was watching TV and also the shot of him looking at the VHS camera. So that added a lot more depth in the lighting. And also we used haze in a can to kind of simulate a more dreamlike atmosphere, and that really sold that effect, kind of wrapped everything together. On day 2, we filmed the climax portion of the song. So this is where the boy finds out that the unicorn is actually himself, and he finds the unicorn through the window, and he runs and goes to find him. After meeting him, we see and it's revealed that he is indeed the unicorn. And so for this shot, we used a body double that was similar in height to our main actor. And that was pretty much day 2. We didn't do anything else that special. And in between day 2 and day 3, there was a day a half day, so I call it day 2.5. It wasn't much, but we had a composer come in and just record the intro sequence with the piano. That went pretty smoothly. I just did some minimal editing to that, and it really fit the vibes of what I wanted. I just kind of directed where it went, but she basically just put it all together in her head right away, so that was super cool. So on day 3, this is where we filmed the outside scenes, the more happy scenes where the boy is chasing the unicorn and the unicorn is having fun with his friends. This is also the time when we film the outro, which is when we replace the unicorn with the boy, so that we finally find that all along it was the boy being the unicorn by the outro of the song. On day 3.5, we set up this set over here, actually, where I'm sitting right now, for the performance part of the video. This is where we basically put the tapestries, we put the clouds or the polyfill on the ground with the LED strips, the decorations hanging from the ceiling, the ladder obviously was here, and the projector, the haze machine, everything came together here, and we tried to make a beautiful set, and that was super cool, super fun, and I learned a lot through that process. So just a little side note, if you're trying to buy polyfill for things like clouds and stuff, I recommend buying it from Walmart, which I learned through Bethany, not to get through Amazon, because it's like twice the price. Just a little side note. On day 4, this was the Saturday, so the day after, I took Noel to the studio here, and we began recording our performance all day. So that took about a good 6 to 7 hours, and then we tore everything down, and then we headed out, and that was day 4. I don't have much behind the scenes on day 4, so there's not much to include here. So there you have it. This is just my perspective as the director, and some of the behind the scenes that I was able to capture and give to you guys. I just want to say thank you to everybody who supported, and it was just overwhelming, and just all the messages and DMs and just encouragement that I was able to get. So thank you all for watching. If you liked it, please share it with someone. It'll make me really happy. Thank you. I'm gonna go now and make my next project.
춤을 춰, light it up. Unicorn, 하늘 봐. We gon' get it even if you never knew. The future holds everything for me and you. 춤을 춰, light it up. Unicorn, 하늘 봐. 네가 몰랐어도 우린 가질 거야. 저 별도 우리 위해 빛나는 거야.